Welcome to the This Week's Acca podcast, sponsored by Sky Bet Acca Freeze. Tom, Joe and Jake with you to run through the schedule. Coming up on this episode then, it is of course the biggest event on the calendar on Saturday, but enough about Eurovision. It's of course the FA Cup final, so we're putting together a same game multi to back at an interesting looking 13-1. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel to ensure that you never miss an episode. Particularly important ahead of the playoff finals next weekend. And remember to keep it fun. Never bet more you can afford. This podcast is 18+. Please gamble responsibly. So we will be talking the FA Cup, of course, and we will have our full playoff episode to come on Monday when we know the finalists.
What of the FA?
The what?
Say it.
The FA Cup.
Say the word.
Magic of the Cup.
Yeah,
there we go.
On.
I was like,
Well
was I meant to say something?
Yeah.
We'll discuss the magic of the cup and what a magical campaign this has been.
I feel all warm and fuzzy inside now.
So magical. Very shortly. We will have the full playoff episode on Monday because we will know the finalists on Monday. We will look ahead to those 3 games, picking out our best bet selections and stuff like that. Before we do, quick recap on what we've seen so far. It's been a really, really good playoffs. It usually never disappoints. Sheffield United, Bristol City, from the neutral's perspective, that was dead and buried, but the Blades absolutely superb in a 6-0 aggregate win, 3-0 either side. We are recording on Thursday, so we've also had Sunderland Coventry, which was,
can we just say, by the way,
seconds away from penalties.
Anyone who listens to this podcast will know that Tom and myself are not great Frank Lampard fans, and Tom beat me to the anti-Frank Lampard GIF post in the WhatsApp chat by milliseconds. Literally milliseconds.
It was absolutely incredible.
He said something like, "Oh my God, he's in tears."
he was holding back the. I'm just disappointed for them, you know. And the one line in each, well, I've won everything, so I'm fine.
Oh my God!
Honest to God, I'm just gutted for them more than anything.
When he said that, I actually couldn't believe it. He literally said, "Well, I've had loads of success in my career, so it probably won't hit me as hard, but but for them." Then, I mean, this is big. He's basically saying this is biggest nights of their lives. For me, you know, it's just,
just a normal Tuesday.
It's only the championship, so I'm not really that arsed.
It's The Office, isn't it, where he goes, "Did you have your wages come through this morning?"
Yeah.
Yeah, phew, you're all right. So why have I got Coventry lads coming in complaining that they've never won anything?
He needs
remarkable
some sort of training course about how he comes across, I think, because by all accounts he is actually a good bloke, but he's not good at giving interviews. Don't say the thing that you really think. Just say what you need to say to not seem like you're coming across like a twat.
If you have avoided this, I don't know how you've done it, but Sunderland with... well, not literally, because they did allow, for some reason, Coventry to kick off before blowing the full-time whistle, which just seemed completely pointless. The penultimate touch of the game. As both teams were preparing for penalties, you saw it down on the dugout. They're speaking to players, making notes and stuff like that. Sunderland get a corner. Enzo Lafie crosses it in, and Dan Ballard, with the most unorthodox header ever, completely mistimes the jump. Kind of heads it, hits the back of his neck, and then goes in to
off
score.
The crossbar as well.
Off the crossbar.
There was that brief
down.
second where you weren't sure if it was in or not.
And you had Ben
for you.
Yeah,
it hit the crossbar and it came down. It didn't hit any net or anything.
No, it literally, yeah. But
I was like, has that gone in?
And then you had the period of Ben Wilson, the Coventry goalkeeper, having that like moment where he could look and then just was helpless just watching it in.
Yeah. Time just stood still.
It has to be up there with one of the all-time playoff moments, surely.
Oh yeah,
it literally did spring. It felt like out of nowhere, because by that point, games just typically die down, don't they? Nobody really wants to lose as opposed to win.
It'll be a really memorable moment because it's so late, last second basically. Like you've described, he's so unbelievably contorted in the way that he gets his body, and then just to add to the overall awkwardness of it, he couldn't get his shirt off.
Yeah,
he's trying so hard to get his shirt off to celebrate.
He
One of his teammates got it off for him.
Yeah, he had his shoulder heavily strapped.
Yeah.
I don't know if he just I haven't got the
shirt
movement
like this,
on my
and then
shoulder.
someone else just comes and they're like yanking it off him, and he's obviously massive in his upper body. So it was brilliant, and he was unbelievable for the 2 legs of the playoffs, and he's second choice. So he's come in for the playoffs because they've picked him ahead of Chris Metham. So, like, fair play to him, stepping up at the right time of the season. So that game was awful as well. Yeah. So, like, he's got had that moment at the end, but the game itself was horrifically bad, which nobody will remember that in the history books. So it's great.
I've got to deal with an entire red and white Wembley.
Oh God,
that
yeah.
is.
I like the smart remarks of people going, I think the team in red and white stripes are going to win.
Hey.
What, Sheffield United then? Not going to be wearing the same kit, are they? Think about it.
It would be funny though. Get the ref in red and white as well.
Well, yeah, let's just
See chaos.
completely mix things up.
Also, we didn't touch on this before the playoffs started, but Bristol City doing a pitch invasion for getting into the playoffs, is that worthy of actually cheering against them?
I touched on it in my preview
column?
for the playoffs because there's a few people have done reactions to this saying, oh well, they've not been in the playoffs for so many years and all this, and they've been mid-table and blah blah blah, but too much. It is too much.
I've never liked it in the playoffs, full stop. You see it a lot of, I mean, it's particularly common because the highest seeded team always plays at home second, right? So you get a lot of, the history shows the better teams do progress. So you do get a lot of second legs where it's at home and you get a lot of pitch invasions and people running on. And it's one thing I've never, ever understood, because it's a great time to celebrate. And yes, we're all delighted. Yes, we've done it. But it is the cliche. You've not achieved anything.
Yeah.
If both teams do it, so Monday night one team does it, Tuesday night the other team does it, there's 50% of those fans have done it for no reason.
Yeah.
And that was the case with Bristol. I couldn't believe it. I was watching it on Soccer Saturday, and the fans. I was like, I had to double check. I was like, is that Bristol City? They're on the pitch at Bristol City.
It's even worse, yeah. It's not even the playoff semi-final. It's just we're in it,
in the
hooray!
playoffs, and then we got smashed 6-0, the biggest defeat in aggregate history.
Climax, isn't it? The big problem for Bristol City it's highly unlikely they weren't going to get beaten comfortably by Sheffield United just because of the
22 points the difference between
quite
those
literally
sides.
the biggest gap in history. At the same time, then the very short gap between that last day of the season and that, if you got that huge emotional outlay, they just got in, everybody on the pitch, it's massive. I think that the two teams that have made it to the Championship playoff final, they've got a big gap anyway, nearly 2 weeks until the final, but they were actually really calm. Sheffield United knew for ages, but Sunderland, you think how last gasp it was, but they were actually pretty. There was a few morons that got on the pitch that kept trying to get in on all the interviews, and one that was trying to have a real go at Frank Lampard, basically trying to antagonise him into a fight. Which
was it you?
I
cannot
comment where I was.
That was too far. But they were like just the right level. Think back a year. And when Bolton beat Barnsley, they had a pitch invasion. The players were up drinking beers in the stand. And you could see then, this is a bit much when you've got the final to play. And then they delivered the most flat performance when we were all like, oh yeah, Bolton will beat Oxford. They're way better than them. And they never, ever got going. So it is a very careful line to tread going into the final.
Then we've seen, we won't talk too much about League One because Leyton Orient, Stockport Leyton Orient, I should say, was last night. That is an upset. Yeah. 6th beating 3rd on penalties in a game. The first leg was brilliant, 2-2. It was a 1-1 draw on Wednesday night, but an upset. I don't think we were pretty confident. I know we backed Charlton to do it, and by the time you listen to this, Charlton may be out of the playoffs. But I think the expectation was, unsurprisingly, Charlton and probably Stockport. If they didn't lose that first leg, they'd take them back to Edgeley Park and they should win. Hasn't been the case, and Leyton Orient absolutely riding a hot streak going into Wembley.
Flying, absolutely flying. I feel a bit sorry for Jim because he put up Stockport to him from behind in both legs and they went behind both times.
It's even worse the first leg as well because
they
it was
went
like
88th
minute or something.
It was like nearly 20-1 in the first leg, Stockport from behind. So yeah, next time, Jim, just back the opposition team, back Orient, score first goal, and then call quits. But yeah, that's maybe an Achilles heel that's come back to bite Stockport. I think they've conceded the first goal in the last 8-9 games now in the league or something like that. So just leaving themselves too much to do.
You're completely right. They were really unlucky. Well, they were unlucky, but their equaliser was a massive deflection when it looked like they were going to lose in normal time. They should have won it in extra time, but there's only so long that you can keep getting away with conceding first.
Brilliant, yeah.
So fair play to Leyton Orient. It's a massive achievement for them. I remember when they made the playoff final in League One. Oh God, aging myself now. It'll be probably almost 15 years ago under Russell Slade, and it seemed like that was their one chance to get into the Championship. And then they just dropped down through the divisions after that, all the way into non-league. So it kind of feels like this is going to be their chance again. If they don't get into the Championship, squad probably gets picked apart. They've made some brilliant loan signings this season. They've got a fantastic manager who probably gets poached. So there's every chance it's now or never for them.
Let's move on, because like I say, we will talk full playoffs on Monday, because I do want to talk about Saturday's main event. It feels like I don't want to kind of do this it was better in the olden days, because it wasn't even like this when I was growing up, but it felt like the entire day was dedicated to the build-up to the event. It was like everyone kind of stops what they're doing from 9 a.m. all the way up to the start time. It's all kind of people are watching all day on television. And Saturday, of course, feels like it's dwindled a little bit in kind of recent times, but then a couple of years ago did quite well. Interest has peaked again, and that is, of course, at the St. Jakobshalle Hall in Switzerland. Eurovision is on Saturday night.
Semi-finals were last night.
Yeah, and tonight, of course. Just wanted to get if we've got any tips for Eurovision, any insight, what are we backing here? Because presumably we're all going to watch it.
Well,
yes.
Yeah. Well, I was listening closely this morning to the updates from the semi-finals on Radio 1 on my drive in, and I've forgotten the name of the British entrants, but they were saying that it's helped their nerves because they're performing at the semi-finals.
I heard this, yes. Even though they're qualified,
even though they've qualified,
automatic qualification,
and it's helped them performing in these 5,000-6,000 capacity venues, because people already know the words to the song, which I don't know the name of. But that's about as much as I can tell you.
I didn't even know it was this.
Remember Monday with What the Hell Just Happened.
There we go. Should have known that.
I didn't even know it was happening this week. I thought
You're not a regular Eurovision watcher?
I
Eurovision
used to be.
parties or anything? Or
No parties, but when I was really young, I used to stop over at my nan and granddad. She used to record it on the VCR. I used to watch it in the morning. That was my memories of Eurovision. But since then, it's just kind of fallen by the way.
They do that thing. Have you seen that recent trend on? Someone did it. The first one I saw was a Leeds fan did it for their lad or whoever it was, saying, they has to go to bed quite early. So I put the result on and I slide it in a note under the door, because my dad did it. They used to do that for Eurovision. So you'd wake up in the morning and you go, "Oh, Sweden again! They've done it."
Thankfully not, no. But it would be a somewhat clash between what do we watch first, the recorded match of the day or the recorded Eurovision. Match of the day always got the vote.
Well, give me a nation. I want a Eurovision with no insight and knowledge. Who are we backing to win Eurovision?
Italy.
Oh, okay. 125s.
Come on.
Hundreds if you get the each way. Yep. Go.
It's usually a nation that's got no kind of political leanings, isn't it? So you have to go for a safer one that everyone's like, yeah, they're all right, because
not if you're doing televote.
Yeah, there's a lot of block voting. So I'll go somewhere Scandinavian. Sweden
are the favourites. So you're in.
You knew that. You just
Sweden are the favourites.
I promise. Nope. Nobody takes a dislike to Sweden, did they? So, and ABBA famously,
yeah.
Eurovision entrant. There you go. Open for anyone's pub quiz team if you want. Although we did fail to win our local one a few weeks ago, which still stings.
Sorry to hear that. I'll take the Dutch. The Netherlands 11-1. A bit of each way value, bit of interest. Yeah. There we go. We will actually talk the FA Cup final, of course. We'll have a little break, get our thoughts together, and we'll pick out a little multiple for the final next. Saturday is the FA Cup final. They are taking it seriously in the Premier League. No other games on that day to kind of ensure full focus is on it. Of course, can't build a multi-game Acca for the game, but what we're going to do is see what kind of picks we have, what kind of fancies we have, put together a little multiple for the game. We'll house it in the usual kind of place for you to back. That's Crystal Palace, who are the home team, take on Manchester City. thoughts on this
Shit,
game?
thank
Oh my
you.
God, you're going.
Yeah, nearly.
Thoughts on this game? How do we think it's going?
I'm feeling a bit bad because I made my thoughts like really clear to Tom earlier in the week that I really, really want Crystal Palace to win, and then I remembered the next day that Tom's got Man City in the outright.
I'd like.
Final.
I mean, I'm a football romantic. We'd all prefer Palace.
From a this week's Acca Sporting Live perspective, then it's win-win, isn't it? Because Jake's got it in an outright that he put up in at the quarter-final stage for Crystal Palace to win, and you put Man City up in the outright. So
we nailed on about 15 points profit.
That's worked out pretty well. But
should we bother with this?
no, yeah, it's really hard to. That's what I was saying to Tom the other day. Is I actually struggle to think of a game like a major final where I'm not rooting for a team that's not my own team as much as Crystal Palace. They're a really, really likeable team for lots of reasons, because they're not a traditional big side.
Have they?
Haven't ever won a major trophy. They haven't got a big stadium. They've had loads of players that they pluck from the EFL that you feel like because you've been watching them play against your team for years, and they've got a manager that has come in from Europe, played a really smart style of football, and turned them into a team that can legitimately threaten big opposition. But the main thing for me is the leaning towards the EFL, that they can take Michael Elise, make him amazing, sell him to Bayern Munich, and then
even Eze as well.
Eze becomes the focal point of the team. Exactly the same. So
might be the same next year with Roman Esse as well.
Exactly, yeah. It's definitely their hunting ground. Adam Wharton and another one. So there's so many players like that. I just really like Palace, and I think they'll make a really good game of it.
Yeah, I'm obviously rooting for Palace. I'm on Palace, but I just think that it'd be a really, really nice change if both cup competitions were won by teams that weren't part of the established so-called Big Six. Obviously, we've had Newcastle beat Liverpool. It'd be great if we had Palace beat City. And it would be a massive, fuck you to the teams that want to finish 8th as well, because that would mean they don't get any European football, and Palace would go straight into the Europa League. And I think that'd be really, really good. Just to get someone else involved in Europe that probably deserves it. I think over the last, 20 odd games, they have been a top 5, top 6 team based on the points collected in the league. I just think, I like the fact that the FA Cup has such an important. Obviously, the trophy is important. The prize money is minimal compared to some of the other trophies on offer, but the fact that you do get qualification to the Europa League, I like that fact, because I think it does. If Palace were to win this, get into the Europa League, and then kind of kick on from there, I think you're going to see the mid-class of the Prem, and maybe even the top of the Championship, start to take this cup really, really seriously over the next few years, and it's just going to make it even more the magic's going to come back even more. I'm rooting for Palace. It's going to be difficult, but to be fair, I've got more question marks about City ahead of the game than I have about Palace. You know exactly how Palace is going to play. You know how they're going to line up with City. Last week, Akanji came in alongside Diaz, and I thought Guardiola's been playing centre-half, been doing a great job alongside Diaz. They've looked very, very good. And obviously the left-back O'Reilly's been playing really, really well. Does Foden start? Bernardo Silva played central midfield last week. I think that'd be a problem if he does that. Is he going to play at all? So there's so many question marks around City and their team selection, like Haaland factor. They've been on this really good run, City, without Haaland, and then Haaland comes in against Southampton, and obviously City should have won the game, created enough chances, but firing a blank, would they be better playing more fluid without Haaland? I'm not too sure. Obviously, he's a brilliant striker, but so many question marks, whereas Palace, you just know exactly what you're going to get.
Feels like one of the last times we're going to see this City team in its current form, isn't it? It feels like it's going to be a huge summer turnover, and a core group that have been there for so long, De Bruyne particularly, it's kind of the last time we're going to see it in this form, isn't it, on the big stage?
Yeah.
It's very odd.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think they're already starting their development as a team. They've moved again tactically from being quite a direct to very, very slow now in possession, and I think that's going to play into Palace's hands. And Palace, they fared well against them this season. They had a 2-2 at Selhurst. They went 2-0 up against City at the Etihad only a few months ago. Eze was like a tiny bit offside. It was going to be 3-0, and that would have been curtains. And then obviously City came back in the second half. But there was no Mark Gahey that game. And I think if Gahey plays, Palace probably end up winning that game. But yeah, I think for the purpose of building a multi, I'm quite happy to just leave the teams out of it. Not only because we've got skin in the game, but also because I find it difficult to pick a team confidently. But yeah, there's plenty of other markets to get stuck into.
Where should we go then? You lead us off if you're saying there's plenty to get stuck into. What are we thinking?
Just the final thing on the picking the winner, Tom, that only one of the favourites has won in 90 minutes in the last 5 FA Cup finals, which, to be honest, I was staggered by having a look.
Is that City against United, maybe?
Yes, well done.
Is that the Gundogan one where he scores 10 seconds in?
2 years ago. So, yeah, I mean, I know that I wouldn't say it for the multi-sem reason, as Jake said. I think there's enough reason to avoid that. But as a bet, if people are betting on this game, the price that Palace are, they're well worth getting behind in some way as a single bet because, yeah, they look well overpriced for me.
Where should we go then? How do we want to start this? Like we say, we'll build kind of a same game build a bet. We'll put it out on site for you to get involved in. If we put something together, what are we all fancying?
You go first because we've rabbited on a lot.
I mean, the options are, there's a number of ways you can approach this. I'm kind of unsure if I'm getting attached too much to the past and how he was, but ultimately this is surely a game where Kevin De Bruyne starts, surely a game where he gets a significant amount, if not all of the minutes, unless they're 3-0 up and in the 75th minute, well done, gets a round of applause from Wembley and he's off. But it's 11-10 on Sky Bet that Kevin De Bruyne score or assist in this contest. Cup finals, I know, can be typically low scoring. It's more of a case of teams don't want to lose so much as they want to win, and maybe more of the case with Palace, considering that for City and everyone kind of takes the piss of, oh, look at the fans don't come and stuff like that. They're there every year, sometimes multiple times a year, but it's still important to them. But particularly for Palace, there is probably that element of, let's just try and get through the 90 minutes however we can. But still, De Bruyne, 11-10 to score or assist. If City are to find the net, which you'd imagine that they will do, I mean, if you look at the prices, not just on a City win, but score 2+ is 4-6. So we're expecting, or the bookmakers certainly are, them to get involved. You'd imagine De Bruyne surely has some involvement from both open play, set-piece situations. It just feels like on what is his last big game for Manchester City, he usually does turn up on these occasions. Any thoughts on that? I mean, it's more of a pricing, 11-10 on that. I was thinking we'd be pushing odds on because you'd imagine he's starting here.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad shout at all. We've definitely seen glimmers of the old Kevin De Bruyne, haven't we, the last couple of games? Well, probably since the March international break, really, since he's got back full fitness. I think did he score twice and get an assist in the recent Etihad game with Palace?
Yeah, he has.
Obviously a massive
involved
plus.
Yeah. Got goal and assist maybe, but yeah, he's definitely had a few.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. My doubt, I guess, is just around the fact that you said the bookmakers have set the line at 2 for City. I'd be surprised if they scored twice, to be honest. I think it's going to be a very controlled type of performance from them. I think they're going to be well aware of the counter-attacking threat of Palace, and I think it's going to make them actually play a little bit more defensive. So, yeah, that would be my only slight concern. And again, when it comes to cup finals, I'm probably not on my own here. I'm immediately thinking unders. I don't want to get involved in goal scorers because I think the chances of a high-scoring game, which obviously increases the chance of your goal scorer actually finding the net, I think they're so low when it comes to cup finals, and FA Cup finals have been that way for a while now.
If you want last 10 Premier League starts, De Bruyne has had goal involvement in 5 of those. So half of his last 10 Premier League starts, of course, he's had a fair few substitute appearances in that, and even then he's tried to make an effort from the bench, but half of his last 10, I think it is, Premier League games have seen at least a goal or an assist.
So do you know, generally, if we're looking at goals, players to score, players to assist, then this is the 20th final at the new Wembley in the FA Cup. So 10 of 19 have gone over 2.5 goals in 90 minutes. But recently, more often than not, they have. So 4 of the last 6 have gone over 2.5. 5 of the last 8, 7 of the last 11, 8 of 13, which just shows you that only like 2 of the first 6 did. So it was a really slow start. The fact that 4 of the last 6 have gone over 2.5 goals, it's actually more common than we would initially expect. It seems like the Carabao Cup final is the one that is a really, really tight one because there have been so many 0-0s the last few years. So I don't know if the value is there. Over 2.5 goals is 3 to 4. Both teams to score is 7 to 10. But I wouldn't be leaning away from player goal involvements because, like, historically, then there have been goals no matter what the matchup has been. Big team against smaller team, big team against big team.
Maybe my mind's warped a bit from just looking at so much playoff stuff because it's just the best. But it feels like the opposite in the playoffs. They're typically low-scoring affairs at Wembley, and without trying to be this snobby kind of higher-up football, but it could actually maybe then be a case of it's not as daunting for elite-level players to turn up at a national stadium with, the greatest respect, League Two, who turn up and go, okay, it's the biggest stadium and the crowds that these players are going to play in front. There's more nerves of making a mistake. You don't want to be the one that does it. Whereas I suppose when you've got world-class players, Manchester City turning up basically every year in some form, for them it's just, I suppose, another trip, isn't it? That it's, you have to go back and count it, but particularly in De Bruyne's case, how many times this guy now played at Wembley?
I think it's a great point that even not the regularity of them playing on a big stage like that, but when you're a player in the EFL and especially a playoff final, it's all about, you've got so much to lose.
Your entire season comes down to that moment where the cup's like a nice little bonus level that goes along your season.
And like the championship, it's even bigger, isn't it? The stakes, but it's all about not making an error, like being risk averse, especially like the lower
I don't want to be the man
you are.
that costs us £150 million.
In the FA Cup final, then there will be more of an opportunity for I can be that man to be the one who makes a difference. And you think of the attacking players and the ability that they have, then you're more likely to see that happen. And you've got, no disrespect to the EFL managers, more like elite level coaches that can expose defensive weaknesses. You look at Man United last year, I think anybody saw them scoring those 2 goals that they just lined up to expose Man City's frailties. So that's probably the couple of explanations for why there are more goals.
So that's 11 to 10 on that one. Let's hear any other suggestions. So we can obviously then kind of put together, hopefully, a multiple. I mean, there feels like a number of angles we could go at.
Yeah, I'd quite like big price cards. Seems like there's quite a few players that are overpriced to me to be carded. The first one's Daichi Kamada, 7 to 1 to be carded. The bloke's been booked in 3 of his last 4 starts for Palace, including in the recent meeting against Manchester City and the FA Cup semi-final. So I can't quite understand why he's 7 to 1. He's averaging 1.7 fouls per 90. Atwell's the referee. Stuart Atwell's averaging 4 cards, 4.3 cards per 90.
Atwell.
He's fresh off a 9-card game last week, and he also oversaw City's quarter-final against Bournemouth and showed 6 cards. So I think cards have generally been quite low. I think you've got some stats, haven't you, for cards in finals. But I think Crystal Palace play with such tenacity that I could see them racking up a few cards here.
Yeah, it was why I started looking at it, actually. That so last year there were 4, but 3 in the last 10 minutes, including a keeper card. Years before, 1, 2, 2, 6 in the season where there were no fans, 5 for the losing team. Season before 3 with a keeper card. Season before that, this is where it was a bit different. This is 2017, 2016, 2015. 6 cards. That was another Arsenal-Chelsea where there were 6 cards the time before that. And then 10 cards in Man United against Palace in 2016.
Pardew final.
Yeah.
Let's give it its proper name, please. The Pardew dancing final.
But it was 6 after 90 minutes and 5 the year before that, all for the losing team when Aston Villa got thrashed 4-0 by Arsenal. So more recently, there haven't been that many. But I started looking at it because I thought the same. Like Crystal Palace, for want of a better phrase, feel like they're going to try to kick the shit out of Man City at any opportunity they can in central midfield.
Quite a high tackles team. They are quite engaged. So I think they're ranked about third, maybe in the Premier League.
Like I was
I
looking
think
at
midfield's key as well, because I think they could overrun City in midfield depending on who plays.
I was looking at Will Hughes 3+ tackles at 7-4 because he's averaging 2.8 per 90 in the Premier League this season, and the difficulty with with Palace is knowing exactly who they're going to select in central midfield.
It could go Lerner, could go Hughes.
This is the only thing about Kamada. Will they go for it, or will they go for a more
2+
defensive priority?
I think that I might have even mixed two stats together there. 2.8 fouls per 90.
Jesus.
And then I've pulled out the tackles line, so I'll have to go and check that now. Better that I've been honest, isn't it?
Well, there you go.
Yeah, the other player I had down was Gahey to be carded as well, 6-1.
I mean, there's more confidence he's
yellows.
definitely going to start.
Yeah,
with Gay.
He's got 7 yellows and a red this season in the league alone. 6-1 to be carded. So yeah, that was one option. His disciplinary record was actually quite surprisingly bad. Usually think of him as quite a clean player, but yeah, 6-1. But I like the Kamada one. I think the price is huge on Kamada, especially because he's every chance he's going to be snapping at the heels of Kovacic, De Bruyne, who else might play, Gonzalez. Yeah, that would boost the multi. That is for certain.
Okay, there are options then on that one. Kamada's 7s, Mark Gahey's 6s, but there's more guarantee with Gahey. He's going to play, I guess, is the balancing act to have. Let's hear a couple more, then we'll kind of put something together. A couple of the ones I had, Tyreek Mitchell to commit fouls, 5-6. Thought that was quite big when they lost 5-2 last month. He had 2 fouls in that game. Very high tackles player, so you'd imagine he'll be heavily involved in that. 5-6 just to commit a foul.
I like that.
That seems a little bit big considering how engaged he'll be. Likely kind of opponent Savinho trying to cut inside or whatever. And Josko Vardiol is 1-2 to have a shot when you're thinking multis. If he is going to push back to left back, even if he's at centre back, I think maybe they'll probably get a few corners. There's opportunities there, but particularly at left back, we've seen him getting forward, contributing with goals. He's been an FPL delight for the past couple of years. So there's a couple of selections there that I think, as singles, maybe you would on Mitchell, but not Vardiol. But when you're making up a multiple, I think they are 2 decent prices that do jump out.
I quite like these, the props where we're looking at shots and fouls because
there's more certainty with them,
isn't
there?
Unless the price is like incredibly good for a goal or assist, then the cards, when it's like traditionally, I think that referees, as we know this does happen, they really don't want to show yellow cards in a major final. Like they're coaching themselves through the final so that they don't have to send anybody off.
11, Mitchell, it's drifted now.
Like the numbers bear out, don't they? But the other things, I mean, they will still give fouls when they're correct fouls. The shots one that I was really looking at because I feel like I just want to get Eze on side in this game. His prices for things that I wouldn't necessarily say they're not worth going in a multi is that he's 6-1 for an assist. He's more been scoring lately on a brilliant hot streak. 4-1 to score, 15-8 to score or assist. And for 3+ shots, he's 21-20 best price, 5-6 with Sky Bet. He's had 4 shots in his last game against Spurs, 3 against Forest in the game before, 3 against Arsenal in the game before that, and he's had at least 2 in 10 of his last 12 games. I just would find it really unlikely that he's not going to have like 2 or 3 shots in this match. I would be shocked.
Yeah, my only worry is that will Palace have enough of the ball to get him in those shooting positions 2 or 3 times. I actually went down a similar route, but I went shot on target, 8-11. Only needs to have 1, and he's generally got a good record of hitting the target. It's 10 games, all competitions since the last international break. He's got 7 goals and 3 assists, so maybe goal involvement could be of interest as well. 1 shot on target in 7 of those 10, and remarkably, every single shot on target he's had in those 10 games have gone in. Huh. What a hell of a strike rate.
Big Wembley goals, it's enticing.
Yeah, no. 1.04 shots on target per 90 this season, so he's averaging over the average. That's 8-11 for a shot on target. Yeah, that was one that I quite liked about Eze. But yeah, that weird stat that all of his last 7 shots on target have gone in.
Well,
Keeper's not saved any of them.
I say to try and potentially wrap us up and kind of taking all points made, you could kind of dilute some of the card shouts down. Eze taking for the shot on target. That if you put De Bruyne score assist, Vardiol to have a shot, Eze to have a shot on target, Tyreek Mitchell to commit a foul, and Mark Gay to commit a foul, that is 13-1 with Sky Bet as a multi. And it seems, I know score and assist, but the others just feel such low lines that it feels well worth getting involved in.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
What is it without the De Bruyne one?
Without De Bruyne, it's 13-2. You just move up the 1 to 2. So yeah, 13-2 on that. If you'd prefer kind of a prop style one, we could potentially take that as it. 13-2 is, 7s-ish, 8s wouldn't be an unusual Acca that we'd put together.
Yeah, the De Bruyne one, I think we're just boxing ourselves in there, especially as he probably don't play much beyond an hour, does he? So if imagine he gets taken off after 25 minutes and all the others have come in, you're just raging, aren't you? So yeah, I don't know whether we want to put another one in for a slightly bigger price or whether we just take the others.
To be fair, for that, for low lines on all, it's 1+ on all the other ones. It's it's not like we're saying all 3-4+ fouls or whatever.
What about one more? Chris Richards to have a shot. 11-8. He's had a shot in 11 of his last.
That, sorry?
Chris Richards.
Okay.
Palace centre half. He's had a shot in 11 of his last 16.
Palace, he's a footballer.
What's going on? Where are we?
He's had a shot in 11 of his last 16, including at the Etihad when he scored.
Okay.
The massive set piece threat. And Palace have 3 of them, to be fair. Guehi, Lacroix and Richards. Richards sometimes gets overlooked because of that. And 11 shots in his last 16 matches is a pretty good record. 11-8 for that.
Well, I tell you what. That takes it back up to 13-1. If you feel that it's more realistic to have Chris Richards in to have a shot, who is just, like you said, just a really good record of it at the moment.
Record, yeah.
And having De Bruyne to actually have to either kick it in the goal himself or pass to someone else to kick it in the goal. This guy can just flick on a header that goes 15 miles wide and doesn't.
Yeah. Or stride forward, shoot,
and just hit it. Just hit it, please. When they're 2-0 down and they're getting desperate, hit it, boy, hit it.
I reckon lock it in.
Should we go for it?
Yeah.
Right, okay then. Our FA Cup Build-A-Bet is as follows. We are taking Eberici Eze to have a shot on target. We've got Josko Vardiol to have 1+ shots. Same as Chris Richards, 1+ shots there. They don't have to be on target. And in the fouls market, Tyreek Mitchell to commit a foul and Mark Gay to commit a foul as well. 13-1, the FA Cup multi. Do we like it?
I do, yeah.
Look at the
cheer on, doesn't it, in the final?
It does indeed. Remember, as we say, keep it fun. Never bet more you can afford. Please gamble responsibly. I think we're going to boost that, aren't we? We're going to ask them to. Very nicely, please. Yeah. Please, can you pop this on site? So head over to sportinglife.com/football. You'll be able to find the link to back that. And if you haven't already, particularly ahead of the playoff finals, please follow, rate us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your chosen podcast provider. We'll be back Monday for...
Who's going to win the final?
Oh, that's a good... Yeah, actually, we didn't... Man City.
Palace.
Think with your head, man. Think with your head.
Man City in extra time.
Man City, there you go. I forgot to actually round up what we think is going to happen. So there we are. We'll be back for the playoff final preview on Monday.